not go down the road of what is an unwelcome distraction at this point in time.
Hearing that and considering and hearing from industry there in our report, how important could these passports be?
This is the scenario that the industry I cover is being presented with. This may be the only show in town to get something out of summer 2021. What happens beyond that is going to be a different story. But internationally, we've already seen the cruise industry saying nobody's getting on board a ship without vaccination, and the aviation industry, that initiative that they have about the green passport, it still has to go through the member states, but that is being rolled out. It's not really that somebody's starting with this notion that we're only going to have an elite who are allowed in. They're looking for ways out of a desperate situation, and something that gives a digital indication that someone is vaccinated or is clear of COVID is all that is on offer. That's really there aren't that many alternatives being presented in the short term.
I mean, what about that? If it's being done elsewhere, is there a point that we come to where we say, despite concerns, we have to get the country moving, we have to get people back to normal, and we just set aside some of those concerns? Is that not reasonable?
I think it's really important that we've been all in this together and we come out of it together. There is a roadmap, of course, for opening up the economy and society. We're seeing a lot of success this week with the vaccine rollout. And I think our priorities need to be to do the vaccine rollout in a fair and equitable way.
Right, but if we do that, how long will it be until we all come out together?
Well, I think, we're looking at over the next number of months. But I think whereas there's a superficial appeal to some businesses to open up more quickly, if you look at what this means in practice, would it mean, for example, pubs or restaurants asking people about their health status, looking for verification of that, and will the onus and liability then shift to those private sector providers to prove that those people have had vaccines?
Just a few months on, that's all we have to wait.
Well, it can all happen very quickly. I mean, the way the numbers are working, 150 is the new metric internationally. Ireland is sitting under that tonight. The Northern Ireland's under 100. If you look at the map that was released by the ECDC today, we're there with the Azores, the Balearics, with Scandinavia, right at the right end of the chart. So all the things that are going to be factors in us opening up are all moving the right direction, and this is just an extra one. But it's really important that if there's sort of this technological move internationally to get this in play, it's really important we move with the rest of Europe and we don't drag our heels.
But what about the realities? Let's say there is a passport and restaurants can open. What about the staff in those restaurants? What about the staff in music venues? Don't we create further vaccination pressures for ourselves?
In terms of the staff being asked to be vaccinated, that's already happening within the health service. I mean, the student nurse situation is quite a confrontational issue in the last couple of days. It's going to create these little difficulties, these bubbles and all of that. But remember, the private sector is not the HSE, and they're already in the job of policing safety, hotel premises, a pub. They're already in the business of protecting the health of their staff and also vetting anyone who comes in that could be a threat to the running of the business and the safety of all their customers. It's not that big a leap. And I do appreciate Liam's concerns, because we're going into human rights areas that really we shouldn't be going into with this. But there aren't that many other ways that we can get this up and running without breaching in the short term some of those inherent rights.
I'm just thinking, Liam, about people who've been locked up at home and who are vaccinated and would like to get out. People who have businesses who'd like to get going again. What's so wrong with saying we'll do it piecemeal, we'll start opening?
Because the question of safety and a safe opening up is much more complicated than reducing it to the simple question of technological vaccine certificate. And we have to remember that our whole system of public health and vaccines in Ireland is based on the principle of voluntary and consent.
But there is another principle, that already some people can meet up if they're fully vaccinated, older people, for example. So we're starting to cede ground, so why not continue?
What we're seeing is very sensible and compassionate and relaxing, where two people who've been vaccinated can meet in private. But what we're not doing at the moment is bringing in a whole level of verification, discrimination in the private sector. And I think that would be the wrong road to go down. We need to make sure that we're actually investing in what's the priority. And the priority at the moment is getting the vaccine out there in a fair and quick way. And crucially, critically, maintaining public trust and confidence in the vaccine programme. If we start forcing people into taking vaccines, we actually risk undermining the public health message.
And this is really important, that it's an inclusive measure. It's not being brought in to exclude people. Obviously, because the pace of vaccination rollout will decide how many people are included, but the principle has to be that everyone is being included. It's not being introduced to sort of keep somebody out because they're seen as a danger to the rest.
Okay, Eoghan Liam, thank